yeah, filmmakers always need more time, right? So anyway, it was ready in the nick of time for the celebration of the 100th anniversary. That was in 2018. And then I felt that the story was left hanging because the priest then, Father Al Dimasus, we're lucky to have him here tonight as well, was retiring, and at that time we really did not know how the church would continue. So I felt the film needed an epilogue in a way. Mm-hmm. And I was lucky enough that Nicole Gerasimopoulos was collecting footage since the centennial, including the difficult times of the pandemic. She would film with her phone, so I stole some of that footage to create an ending for the film, plus, some photographs, as you saw, of the new priest, Father Nick, who could not make it. So it became, maybe a slightly more hopeful film because it was kind of like a little sad, I guess. The problem, my understanding is that there is still a problem with new people coming to the church, but it does have to do with how Greek communities are nowadays. People disperse anyway, so it's not like in the first times of immigration when people tended to.
Sir Tassos, I hope you don't mind. Sir Tassos, I'm Filipino, and some audience are Filipino. Because they're a little bit more Catholic, and I see Catholicism in Greek Orthodox. Would you mind explaining the difference for me who
oh boy,
just short.
The differences are, if you really, I'm not qualified to give you a real, informed opinion on it. I know that if you think about it, my understanding is that the differences are minimal, really. We don't have a pope. That's a difference. The Greeks don't have a figure of the pope, but we do have, a patriarch. So in some ways there are similarities. And both Catholics and Orthodox Christians, believe in Jesus Christ and
Christ is risen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So they are both Christians, right?
Right. Yeah. I have a couple of questions about. I saw it was within the pandemic, so I know you got shortages. Some are cell phone videos and pictures. So a lot of the films at the film festival are pandemic movies, meaning shot 2020 and 2021. So how is that evolving? Maybe you have a continuation of this as well, or where?
For this documentary?
Right, I feel it's still going somewhere.
Yeah, honestly, I'd like to do a longer film, not only on the church, but also on the Greeks of Chelsea.
Right.
People associate Greeks with Astoria, but that's not really the first, it wasn't the first Greek neighborhood. Chelsea and Washington Heights, I believe, came before Astoria. So it would be interesting to do a longer film. I do want to interview the new priest, for instance.
Right.
We'll see. It's a fully voluntary film, by the way.
Exactly.
There was literally $0 involved.
And before we have the other participants, though, anything about the current priest? And it's looking like there's an influx of,
yes.
You showed the young families at the end.
It seems like
so is there like
there's some renewal. Yeah.
So anyways, I think we want to see some of your participants. I don't know if we cannot have them up. We can have them down there just in case. No, we have extra mics. That if they can just be interviewed.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You can just come down and, but we just want to hear a few words from them. Can they come up?
Of course.
Right.
Oh, some of the participants of my film.
Yes.
Oh,
We just want to hear a few statements from them.
Yes, certainly.
Because we do have to have more Q&A.
So I misunderstood.
Right. So you should just have them there, and then we can talk. Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Tassos, would you mind introducing and just a few words from
my
them?
co-producers are keeping my ears.
Okay. Hello. Thank you so much for attending tonight. I just want to say that, honestly, to me, apart from being part of the church and going there, it's a great honor to see a whole bunch of people seeing this film, because it really is heartfelt. Not because it's our church, but it's actually, I think the job of film is to move people. And I think this film actually does move. And this is Nicole, who's also a producer.
The gentleman just asked before what's the difference between Greek Orthodox and Catholic, and Father Al can answer that question, but can I take the microphone all the way down?
No.
Is that gonna be long enough? Okay, all right, because he was that's my dad.
Maybe we can hear him, I don't
Okay,
know.
let me see if we can, okay.
Yeah, maybe he can speak in.
Father Al, can you answer that question?
Pardon?
Can you ask the question, what's the difference between Greek Orthodox and Catholic?
Yeah, we're actually sister churches.
Loud enough.
Sister churches.
Yes. And incidentally, that fellow in the film was my overweight twin brother. The churches, we're one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. And then, unfortunately, due to, as time passed, there were Slavic invasions into the Balkans, separating Rome and the four patriarchs of the Patriarch of Rome and the four patriarchs of the East. And the four patriarchs of the East were always in communication, while the Patriarch of Rome was on his own in the West. And so they developed along two different lines. The West being more judicial and the East being more mystical. But, that's a part of the custom and traditions of the people. But what happened was there was misunderstanding of interpretations because of loss of languages. There was a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of miscommunication, and then eventually the Western Church, I'm trying to be very brief, in Spain they had a council, and the two bishops there, Elipon of Toledo and another bishop, brought in the teaching into the creed. We said in the creed you could never add anything to it, that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father, and the Son is begotten of the Father. That was the distinction of the Trinity, the only thing we could say. And then when the Spain council took place, they tried to defend the divinity of Christ. So they said the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and from the Son. And so that was what caused a division. That is the real cause. It's not the Pope. It's that the Filioque laws. And then the fact was that the Pope accepted this. Pope St. Leo did not accept this teaching. He rejected it. But a later Pope accepted it. And that's where we have the split of the churches. But today, we have the best dialogue going. The decision of the Orthodox Catholic dialogue, as I understand it, was that when the Roman Catholic Church will publish the creed from this time forth, when they publish it, it will not have the Filioque clause in it, but it will have the original Nicene Creed as we recite it in the Orthodox Church. So we're coming closer together, and now they're discussing. The Pope is first in honor for the Orthodox, but not in authority. In the West, he's first in authority. So we feel he's an equal patriarch with all the four other patriarchs, and we're working on a way to define. If you'll see Pope St. Francis, he said that the way for the church to function is not for him alone to speak from the from the chair of the Pope, but to have a council, and this has been his policy, and that's been the policy of the Orthodox. So we're closer together, and as a bishop said once, he said, it's very easy for the churches to come together. All we have to do is to love one another. But he means to look into each other's eyes with love, and compassion, and understanding, and when we love one another, God will do the rest.
Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. I think that's the wrapping up our love one another, and as you see, a lot of you guys are here unified. Talking about unified, you need to be unified as producers. So any short words of wisdom, 2 sentences only, please, each of the producers, so we can proceed with our program. First, a few words, please. Yes.
First, I just want to thank my neighbor Tasso and his lovely wife Joanna, because they were pretty incredible. Achilles, Mark Buxton, who's on here, and Nick, of course, and all the participants who are here to support us, Georgia, Father Al, Nitsa, Panayoti, Litsa, Carol, everyone who's here to support us, thank you so much. And like Father Al said, the meaning is love, and I hope one day all the religions can come together and define that. It's all about love and nothing more. So, thank you.
I just want to add with regards to the hope and positivity that's actually happening at the church. I joined about 6 years ago, like full-time participate, and what I've seen, Father Al was extremely welcoming. The new priest has actually definitely opened the door. I have a godson who's 31. He converted at 30 years old from another church, and he came to us because, but nobody dragged him in there, came to us. Why? Because he wanted to go to the original word. And so he's even, in 1 year, he's actually helping the priest behind the conostasis formally every Sunday. And it's really an incredible change for the church. And I think